Got Your Back Pod Stream is brought to you by Mr. Dirk. From casual wear to suits and formals, Mr. Dirk helps you find the perfect fit with the right look for any occasion. Step up your wardrobe at MrDirk.com.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can't trust a forward. Listen to my words tonight. Don't just fall in love with my face. I used to be somewhat of a big deal, wheeling, dealing, no bucket in the warm-up, people carrying my bags in. How many times do I have to tell you through text, let's talk about the PK? That is a dirty hit that needs a response. I like a stiff, stout pillow. We'd rather dress nobody than dress you.
The only thing I like better than easy points are free Slurpees.
Goalies embellish all the time. He tumbled over like he was hit by a Zamboni. Am I this good, or are we just winning by 7 goals, and that's why I'm out here? Just say, I know you're right, Struddy. Just get it out. I think I am the modern day Ronnie Dangerfield.
Yeah, I get no respect.
And now, Weiss Johnson presents Struddy's World. Here's your host, a guy who took warm-up and feels good enough to go, Jason Strudwick.
It's time. Let's do this, everybody. Game 1 of the finals, the rematch between Florida and the Edmonton Oilers. That's the one we all wanted. The show is brought to you by our good buddies, Weiss Johnson Heating and Air Conditioning. The summer weather has arrived, and if you don't have air conditioning yet, don't wait. Weiss Johnson's here is your home comfort specialist, so give them a call and enjoy a summer with a brand new AC unit. Specializing in servicing existing mechanical systems or installing new ones, visit Weiss-Johnson.com today. Hit it.
Weiss Johnson, whoa.
It's fun. It's fun to be at home. Game 1, we're all ready for this, and that means I'm home in my beautiful Adrenaline Diesel studio. Edmonton's premier heavy-duty diesel truck repair shop, specializing in powertrain, tuning, performance, and parts sales. Visit adrenalinediesel.ca. Pretty neat, Zubie, when you hear a little bit of what goes on in the dressing room. It's good to see you, Zubie, by the way. And today, Coach Knoblock talked about, he was asked if Zach Hyman would be reading the starting lineup, and he said no, but there's a reason for it. Here's Chris Knoblock.
No, we have a tradition. Whoever did it the game before, and as long as we win, that continues on. So Connor Brown will be doing our starting lineup.
I love that. I love when we hear something that we don't know, right? We don't know who's done it. You've seen moms do it. You've seen all these different people. Connor Brown, everyone wants to know, game time decision, Zubie. He will take warm up. Listen, it's Stanley Cup Final Playoff 1. He was sick yesterday. I would be blown away if he doesn't play today. There wouldn't be, I don't think I could take enough, NyQuil or whatever I needed to get myself off the mat and into that game. So Connor Brown, game time decision. I expect him to play, Zoobs.
I can't imagine a hockey player at any level of any nationality coming off the ice after taking warm up for a Stanley Cup Final game and being asked, "Are you good to go?" and being like, I'm not like I just can't imagine. There's no, and I understand thinking, what Troy Stetcher said, last week about him coming out for Ekholm. He's better. Right. We're better with him. Maybe it would be different if the guy waiting in the wings was, Connor or Leon or somebody, someone of this high stature was the person who was gonna come in, and you thought it was a better position to put the team in. But my goodness, I can't imagine he's gonna say he can't go.
There's no chance that he's not playing. I mean, I would do anything to get into that game if I was in his position. So we'll see. I expect him to take the warm-up and take the game. So that'll be really important. The Oilers do have to figure out a few other details in their lineup. The big thought of the day. Okay, let's get to it. Now, I've been asked many times, do the Oilers need to win the first game? They lost the first 3 games last year, battled back in game 4, 5, 6, tied it up, go back to Florida for game 7. Now they have the home ice advantage. Obviously, that's important. I don't think they need to win game 7, but Zubie, game 1. But it is part of the step. It's another step as far as moving towards their end goal. Florida's a really good road team. We know that. I think they're 8-2 or something, or 8-1 their last 9 or 10 games. they're going to be ready. They're not going to, this moment won't be too big for Florida. It won't be too big for the Oilers either. So these are two heavyweight champions, or one's a champion, one wants to be the champion, but people have been through this before. And for the Oilers, it's a step in the right direction. They know what it feels like. I thought they looked a little bit nervous in the game one last year. I don't expect those nerves from them at all. They know what it's going to be like. And if they lose the game, is the end of the world? No, it's not. But I think what it does, Zubie, is it sets them up to continue that journey. They've been so methodical. Round 1, round 2, round 3, and now round 4. Change it up, get the first win of the series, and now turn kind of a little bit of pressure onto Florida to get a win in game 2 before they all fly back to Florida for the next game 3.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think they need it, but I think it would be a huge... the Oilers haven't been great in game ones in this era of this playoff era that this team is in. They did, of course, win game 1 against Vegas here in round 2 this year. So I do think that maybe they're not quote unquote expected to win game 1 because of that history, but that if they do psychologically, I think that could send a message to Florida as well, that these guys are different than last year. And it would also make the point too, Struddy, that if they won game 1, they could look back even to the finals last year and say, we won 3 of the last 4 of that series. Now we've won 4 of the last 5 against this team in the Stanley Cup Final. So does that, what would that do psychologically for the guys?
Well, 100%. I mean, you've beat them in a series essentially, and I know it was spread over 2 years,
Yes,
but
yeah.
still, I think that your point's really well made. This team isn't the same. There's no doubt both teams I think are better than they were last year, but the Oilers didn't have the experience that Florida did last year. The Oilers now have that experience, and they've been so methodical in this journey towards the Stanley Cup Final that I think that, it's not they're going to get too high if they win game 1. They'll say, we were supposed to win game 1.
Yeah.
Then you go into game 2, we were supposed to win game 2. Now, Florida's going to have a lot to say against that, obviously, because they're a really good team. And that's where we're going to jump into the digital soundbox, brought to you by Douglas Mattresses. If you're like me, there's nothing better than a good night's sleep after a long day. Your best sleep is just around the corner. With every mattress, they're including a free sleep bundle that includes 2 memory foam pillows, a complete set of luxury sheets, and more. Visit the Douglas Mattress Store in Manchester Square, here in Edmonton, or check them out at douglas.ca/GYB. Let's hear Chris Knoblock. He was asked if it matters that it's Florida Panthers again in the Stanley Cup Final.
I think it's just the fact that we are familiar with this team. It's not that they've changed their identity. They still play the same system, same style. I think it helps us get prepared to play them. As for we want to win it more because they beat us last year, I don't think that's any case. I think it's just we get to this point, and no matter who we're playing, we're 100% wanting to win it. So I agree with Leon, his assessment on the frustration, just losing, coming so close and losing it. You're always going to remember it, absolutely. But I don't think it makes any difference on who beat us last year and who we're playing this year.
I'm going to challenge him a little bit. I personally would feel I'd want to beat the team that beat me. The team that made me so sad and took from me what I wanted, I'd want to get them back. I really think so. I'm not saying he's lying, but that's how I would feel, Zubie. I would not be quite so gracious. I wouldn't say it out loud, but in my soul, deep in the darkest part of my soul, where the unfriendly part, I'd want Florida to suffer like they made my team suffer the year before.
Yeah, I understand. Maybe from a coaching standpoint, maybe he's speaking from a coaching standpoint and it's just X's and O's to him, and he doesn't feel that he has to maybe take the revenge element out of it to just do his best as a coach. But for players, you're out there on the ice in the battle with these guys. It's got to mean something that it's the team you lost to last year.
I think at some point in this series, and we won't be in the room, so we won't know, but I bet you someone will say just what I said. These guys ripped our heart out last year. It's our turn to do it to them. And it probably won't be game 1, but it will come up at some point, Zubie. I believe they will hear that. And he'll put them, that'll be the rally cry. Right. The troops maybe need a little bit of a leveling up. We know Zach Hyman's out. He spoke today. He's going to be around the team, and he was very complimentary. And the guys called him on FaceTime. after the game to kind of get him back in. But they are a little bit short on right wingers. So if Connor Brown's coming in, let's hear from Chris Knoblock again in the Douglas Mattresses digital sound box, what he thinks about where they can find some people to fill the hole Zach Hyman's left behind.
And especially right now, we're kind of short on right wingers with Hyman not being available. So we're going to need some more guys stepping up there, whether that's Corey Perry, Brown, Arvidsson, Frederick, left or right. You know, we've got a lot of guys. Kapanen, you know, since he's inserted back in the lineup during this run, he's been phenomenal. So those guys collectively is going to try and erase our memory of Zach Hyman.
Depth, a 4-letter word. Just kidding. I know it's 6 letters, but it's such an important thing that they have. You know, Kapanen, Trent Frederick can play both sides. And I do think that they will ultimately end up, it'll be Connor Brown with Frederick and Henrik. For some reason, I say their same last name the
Yes.
same way. But I think that's really important that they do have the depth, and they still have, you know, I'm guessing Jeff Skinner, who will be on the outside looking in for tonight's game, Zubie.
I worked with a guy named Fraser, and everybody called him Frazier. And sometimes you just get those things in your head of things that sound the same. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm excited to see Connor Brown back in. Hopefully he can make an effort to replace some of the physicality. Again, that's what, I mean, Zach Hyman scored a couple of big goals, but the big thing he was bringing in this playoff so far was the hitting. So it almost feels like that's what needs to be replaced, which is just kind of a crazy thing to say about Zach Hyman. So hopefully Connor Brown can bring a little bit of that, and if he's chipped in a couple goals along the way as well.
Well, we weren't at practice, but our first guest was down at practice. So let's get up to speed now with our buddy, the voice of the Edmonton Oilers, Jack Michaels, brought to you by Timber House Developments. Need a little extra space for the in-laws? Timber House Garden Suites are absolutely perfect for keeping them close, but not too close. The designs are unique, anything but cookie cutter, and the experience of building with Timber House is second to none. They'll treat you like family, build you a great house or garden suite, and take care of you for years to come. Visit timberhouse.ca. Look at this guy. Is that a mauve shirt? You look so nice in mauve. You should wear it more often.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel pretty, I feel pretty special, to be honest with you.
So, Jack, you were down there at practice. Let's start with the Edmonton Oilers. What did the sense you got about Connor Brown and his availability for game time tonight?
I think Connor Brown's playing. I really do. And I think there might be a slight lean on keeping the Podkolzin and Janmark Arvidsson line together, even though Jeff Skinner has now popped into 2 games and found his way onto the score sheet in both. That would be my slight lean as far as where Edmonton is going with its lineup. And then everything else is going to be status quo with Ekholm, Bouchard, and Nurse and Kulak, your top 2 pairs. So I think, if anything, that third line might look a little like Frederick, Henrique, and Brown would be my strong suspicion there. And then again, they really like what the advanced metrics look like, and quite frankly, what the line looks like as a whole, with Janmark centering the fourth line, Podkolzin and Arvidsson as wingers.
Yeah, that's amazing depth, having those guys as your fourth line when they were second line wingers for long stretches of the year. Jack, it's one thing to win, to finish off a series when your top players gets injured. The Oilers have now had some time to digest the injury to Zach Hyman. It sounds like it's unlikely he'll be returning at all this playoffs. He spoke this morning, obviously emotional. Everyone's emotional. So now they've had time to think about it. Where do you go, or how do you go about backfilling what Hyman brings both on and off the ice for a team that needs 4 more wins to get to where they want to be?
Well, I think on the ice, they've never been more equipped to deal with this kind of injury than they are right now. Certainly in my tenure covering the team and, going back to your last couple of years of your playing career. I mean, they've got depth. You were just talking about. I mean, think about who they've parachuted into the lineup in this playoffs alone. I mean, they've brought in Frederick, and they've brought in Kane, and they've brought in Berg, and they've brought in Skinner, and they've brought in Kapanen. These guys were not in uniform in game 1 against LA. So it's been a complete flip in terms. I mean, that's a third of your lineup right there. And not to mention the goaltending. So I think on the ice, and the reason I mentioned the goaltending is your backup goalie is 6-0. I mean, he's 6-0. He didn't lose the net. He got hurt and he can't
Crazy.
get back in the lineup, and he's 6-0. That's how deep Edmonton is. But to your point, and addressing Hyman specifically, I don't know whether it's so much about the hits. I don't tend to get caught up on that too much because, as you know, Struddy, everyone hits in the postseason. You're going to see guys, obviously Hyman is the most glaring example of a guy that's, jumped from one hit a game to basically 8. But I think everyone's going to hit. I'm not worried at all. We saw, Arvidsson when he was sat, when he came back in the lineup, he was flying around. I mean, the guys that are going to get an opportunity to play that are borderline guys and know that there's depth lurking. Are gonna bring it tonight. I don't think that's where you miss Zach Hyman. I think some finished around the net. You've got Corey Perry, but in terms of in close quarters, being able to finish with some degree of hands around the net, well, Zach Hyman is certainly a guy that's going to knock a few in on the power play, you'd think, during the course of a playoff series. But I think off the ice is what we don't know. Certainly one of the glue guys, certainly one of the conduits between the elite core of this team and everyone else. Certainly a guy that everyone gravitates toward. I mean, whatever you want to say about Zach Hyman, there's no one on the team, and quite frankly, probably no one in the league, not just players, but media, coaches. I mean, everyone respects that guy. So, I hate to cop out and use the term glue guy, but you are losing some of that. But again, there's so many guys in that room, whether it's not so much Evander Kane per se in terms of the leadership, but there's guys that have been down the road before with this group. There's guys like Adam Henrique. There's guys. I mean, quite frankly, Evan Bouchard is now in that group. Brett Kulak is in that group. These are now guys that have been here long enough, whether it's 3 or 4 years. Matthias Janmark is probably in that group. They've got a lot of guys that have been with the team long enough where they can pull everyone else along. And that's part of what was so vital about Zach. He's kind of like Kane and a few of these other guys. He got here 3 or 4 years ago, and it seems like he's been here 8 years. So I think it's vital to have those guys. And I think Edmonton, like they do on the ice in terms of statistical production, I think they have enough in the room that have been here long enough uh, to be, to fill that leadership void, if you will. This is a veteran team, Struddy, and there's even the guys that aren't necessarily in the lineup on a day in, day out basis. Everyone in that room respects Jeff Skinner. Everyone in
Yeah.
that room respects Victor Arvidsson. Everyone in that room respects Derek Ryan. I mean, these are guys that are proven NHL players in the league, and I think that helps when you've got a veteran group when you lose one of them.
Jack, when you look at this series outside of the goaltending, because I think that's been hit pretty hard from every angle on both sides, is there an area of the game for either the Panthers or the Oilers that you feel either team has a distinct advantage in?
The easy answer is, well, Sergei Bobrovsky's won a cup. He's won a couple of Vezinas. But on the other hand, Stuart Skinner actually had a better save percentage than Sergei Bobrovsky last year in the final. Now, that doesn't mean anything. Edmonton outscored Florida 23-18 in the final and lost. Edmonton was better on special teams and lost. In many ways, that series did not add up the way you'd think if you just looked at a composite box score. Uh, but I will say I don't think the gap is that pronounced. I really don't, especially with the way Stuart Skinner is playing now. Sergei Bobrovsky has gotten the Florida Panthers into this position in the playoffs with a 912 save percentage. Well, Stuart Skinner's been at 94 in his last 7 games since reclaiming the net when Calvin Pickard got hurt in game 2 against Vegas. So I think the way Stuart Skinner's playing right now, I think the difference or the edge is negligible. And quite frankly, You look at Aiden Hill, won a Stanley Cup. You look at Jake Ottinger, certainly 1 or 1A in terms of representing Team USA at the Olympics. And Skinner outplayed both of them. I mean, significantly. So I don't know whether Florida has an edge in goaltending in this series. I think it's more out of respect that I'm saying on paper, Sergei Bobrovsky, uh, probably deserves a slight edge in the goaltending matchup. But again, if you looked at it on paper, Edmonton should have won the Stanley Cup last year. And part of that was that Stuart Skinner marginally outperformed Sergei Bobrovsky.
Can't wait to see this go. You got the call tonight. We're looking forward to it. Any new sayings you've been saving up for this bad boy, or?
Well, I mean, honestly, the biggest thing that I was hoping is, maybe Evander Kane would hook up with someone locally to bring in one of those luxury vehicles. I mean, we've seen it mostly on the road. I was hoping, what he might have in store for game one. I don't have anything magical lined up for my broadcast. I mean, I do everything I can to keep guys like Rob Brown and Bob Stauffer in line. So I can't worry about them. Struddy, at playoff time, as well as anyone, do your job. I'm going to stay in my lane.
Well, we can't wait. We love your calls, Jack. Always thank you for this and the information. Rest up. I think we've got a pretty long one ahead of us here, buddy.
You bet. Cheers.
There it is. Jack Michaels, the great Jack Michaels. That was getting up to speed. So there you go. Lots of information there. Connor Brown, he expects them to play the lines, Frederick, Henrique, and Brown. We know the fourth line. No AJ Greer, Boquist in for Florida. That's where we're at, Zubes. Did I miss anything?
No, I think Connor Brown did. He did media after the practice this morning and basically said that he's expecting to play as well. So from his lips, I think it's still not 100%, but it's pretty close.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Let's pause. When we come back, a fan favorite here on the show, not one of my favorites, but one of your favorites, Zubie, Jamie McLennan is going to join us on here. And he's very specific. His time, he's got a hair cut he's got to get to specifically in 20 minutes. So we better get to him because they got to get that monkey bum cleaned up. Let's take a break here. When we come back, Jamie McLennan, Struddy's buddies, next.
If you're considering a vinyl fence, don't be fooled by cheap marketplace imitations. Get top quality vinyl fence from a trusted company with 20 years in the industry. With locations in Calgary and Edmonton, check out dlrvinylproducts.ca. For over 60 years, Belvedere Golf and Country Club has delivered a high-quality membership experience to Edmonton and area. And now it's even better. Drainage and irrigation improvements in 2024 have taken course conditions to a new level. This commitment to long-term sustainability means exceptional playing conditions all season long. Belvedere's tee sheet availability is unmatched, so join now and experience golf the way it was meant to be played, on your schedule. Visit belvederegcc.com today.
Join over 250,000 Canadians who have upgraded to Canada's best mattress. Douglas is proudly made in Canada and ships directly to your door for free. Douglas is easy to set up. Enjoy perfectly balanced comfort and an easy-to-clean machine washable cover. Get a free sleep bundle with your Douglas mattress. Try risk-free for 365 nights. Get your Douglas mattress today.
Let's keep this party rolling as we get you prepped for game one of the final Oilers and Panthers. Connor Brown will be game time decision most likely playing. Time for Struddy's Buddy now, brought to you by HSC Core Services. If you're a small to medium-sized business, HSC Core has your back when it comes to health and safety compliance. From creating and managing a tailored health and safety program that meets all legislation and core requirements, HSC Core supports clients' operations every step of the way. Visit www.hsccore.com. That's hsccor.com for more info today. Look at this guy, Jamie McLennan. You look like a model. You look like a model sitting in there today. What did you do? Did you get some skin application done, or what are you doing?
A shoe model, right? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, because I
Noodles,
know there's some sort of backhanded comment
no.
here that you're waiting because you know what, the hair looks like I was like, where the hell's my hair going? It starts now way back here. It's my forehead looks too big on TV, so I'm actually on my way to the golf course. Our show is at the RBC Open, so I'm in the middle of some farmer's field right now trying to find where the hell I have to go. And you know me with golf, I'm so proficient and I love golf so much so that I don't even know who the hell's playing this weekend, but it sounds like there's a bunch of good players.
Now, before we get into it, you and Jerome McGinley, Hall of Fame buddy, you guys would make fun of me going bald for years. Iggy went bald before he was 25, and you're heading there, but you're nearly 70. So that's not abnormal to start going bald in your 70th year. You're not
Yeah,
alone.
you know what? Exactly. I am coming 54, and there is like you see the gray, but
Yeah.
I was trying to like have a fresh dip, but it didn't take. So
Oh man.
it
Okay,
didn't
Doodles.
take.
It didn't grab. Okay, so the goaltending battle is Bobrovsky, obviously both have played a ton of playoff series, and different times had different results. Obviously, Bobrovsky's won the cup. Skinner lost it last year. Where do you see this battle? Some feel it's quite a difference. Others feel it isn't. Where do you see it?
I see it closer than people think. I will say Stuart Skinner doesn't have to be brilliant. He has to be good. I think on the other side, I think Bobrovsky has to be really good. And what I mean by that is the Oilers have been able to solve all three of the goaltenders that they've faced in the playoffs. It started with Kemper. Kemper was up for the Vezina this year. Once he allowed over 5 goals this year during the regular season. The Oilers got to him, I think, 3 games in a row, 5 plus. And then you look at Aiden Hill, who has won a cup. He stabilized down the stretch for Vegas, and they got to him. Jake Ottinger statistically was the best goaltender in the playoffs heading into that series against the Oilers. He had had 8 quality starts. He hadn't had a bad start. And then the Oilers got to him. So I think that's the biggest challenge is the Oilers have to find a way to get to Sergei Bobrovsky. And I think, obviously, on paper, Bobrovsky's got 2 Vezinas. He's got the cup. He arguably could have been in that Conn Smythe conversation last year. But I look at the Oilers and the way that their offense is. That's one of the biggest things. I think if Edmonton wins, they win the cup, and Connor McDavid gets the Conn Smythe. If Florida wins, it'll probably be Bobrovsky that gets the Conn Smythe. He might be the difference maker. So I think that's the biggest challenge for the Oilers. They got to get to him. They got to get traffic in front of him. They got to make life difficult for him. And keep in mind, they beat him 3 times in the finals last year, but he stole, I would argue, maybe 1 game for sure. For sure, 1 game, maybe 2 in the finals last year. He was that good in those first 3 games.
Notice who has the advantage the more that a player sees a goalie or a goalie sees a player? Because this is now, 8 or 9 times that the Oilers and Panthers have played in the last calendar year. And if we add up, let's say it's 7 more, we're talking, 14 to 16 games here that they'll have seen each other. And who gets the advantage more? Is it the player or the goalie when seeing each other more frequently?
I think it's the player because there's so many different players. So they have unique skill sets. So, Ekholm's got a really good slap shot and he goes high underneath the bar. Bouchard, we know what he can do as far as bring the puck. Wallman's got a great shot, but McDavid's going to try and look for different holes through the body. Draisaitl has the shot from the goal line that tries to go underneath the bar. So you got what you're dealing with if you're Sergei Bobrovsky is you need 23 different scouting reports. If you're the Edmonton Oilers, you need one scouting report, and that's how you have to beat this guy. So I lean towards player. Now, keep in mind the player doesn't. This isn't breakaways. It's not just player on goaltender. There's defensemen that are going to get sticks in there. There's block shots. There's going to be maybe coming off the wall. I will say one thing. Bobrovsky likes the fire poker. So the Oilers have to be mindful off of a bad angle. Like he's going to be trying to poke check guys. He's going to be trying to disrupt their momentum coming towards him. That's the biggest challenge for the Oilers in doing your pre-scout is I've seen him play a couple poor games here in the playoffs where they expose the blocker and in between the blocker and the body, I call it the 6 hole. But also Bobrovsky likes to poke check from angles. So if you can identify that, you can put that underneath the bar there while he's reaching out for it. So there is some things that you can, on the pre-scout, maybe get in the back of your mind, but you really have to react at what he's throwing at you and what you're going to do.
Oilers fans remember Sasha Barkov from last year, but I don't think he's appreciated enough in the NHL as an elite player. When you watch him play, what do you see from him and makes him so difficult to match up on both ends of the rink?
Strength on the puck. So if you look, he's got this really long stick and he's really strong on his skates. So a lot of times I look at a guy like Corey Perry, goes into the corner, and a lot of times he comes out with the puck because he's cagey. And he'll have a pressure point here. He might poke a guy in the eye by accident, all that type of stuff. All of a sudden, the puck comes out on his stick.
Yeah.
That's what Barkov does. Barkov wins loose puck battles. He's got a great stick. He's got good vision. He's a good skater. He's strong on the puck. And he does it in both ends. Now, Draisaitl does that too. And the thing is Barkov's a big, strong guy. And Draisaitl, he invites contact because he's better in those tight spaces when he has people, on his back. That's what Barkov is too. So I look at it, that's what makes him special, is the details of his game are so impressive because it might be this little pop play here. It might lift a stick there. It might be being strong on your stick to not get it lifted. Things like that we take for granted. But I look at him and I think he's the complete player. And you've got to be mindful. Like even if on the back check, if you think you got to step on him, he can skate. So he's as close to a perfect player as far as well-rounded. And you have to keep in mind when he's on the ice. And I even looked at this analytically, and I steal it from Mike Johnson. Last year, McDavid versus Barkov head-to-head, the score was 1-1. Everybody outside of Barkov defending him, McDavid was 5-1, his line. So home ice, I think, is important, especially early on, if Knoblock can get away from some matchups. If you can get McDavid away from Barkov line, even Reinhart, and maybe have the matchup against Lundell or find a shift here or there against that fourth line, you're going to see a little bit of a mismatch, and that's where McDavid and Draisaitl have to take advantage of it.
One last one for you. Are the Oilers D, who many feel are the best group of D they've had for a number of years, are they up to the challenge that is presented by the Florida Panthers forecheck?
I would be a lot happier if they had this 34 guy who'd rumble around with a bum chin, but he's retired. But outside of that, honestly, I think they are they're deep. And Struddy, you could speak to this, and I'll be honest. It's a weird thing to say. I think they changed or their dynamic settled down when Klingberg came in the lineup and started playing well. Because now on each pairing, you've got somebody who can make a play, who can exit the zone, who doesn't panic with the puck. Yes, he's going to get beat in a foot race here or there, and he's not a perfect defender. But, you look at Ekholm can handle the puck. Bouchard can. Basically, all of their guys can handle the puck. Now, Nurse is more robotic. He's kind of a straight line guy, but Nurse can skate. That's the thing. Even when Stetcher was in the lineup, he moves the puck well. So I don't disagree. I think Stan Bowman had a vision for this group, and the thought process is my defensemen have to be able to move the puck to my talented forwards, and they've been able to do it so far. Now, the one thing I will say, Florida extremely aggressive, so the D have to be aware that there's not going to be a lot of time and space. You have to make your play immediately before you absorb contact. But I'll point to Game 7, the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Florida Panthers. You could see the second half of that first period, the Leafs started to exit the zone a little bit quicker. And in the neutral zone, they made a quick pop play to the middle. And the Leaf players with speed were entering the zone. That created 3 breakaways for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Unfortunately, you had Lorentz, guys like that on breakaway, Scott Lawton, and then William Nylander. But if Edmonton can figure that out, the over aggressiveness of the D and the way that the Florida Panthers like to defend, they'd like to defend in the offensive zone and in the neutral zone. If you can make some quick pop plays to speed, and you get 97 and 29 and 93 and 91 in alone, You might get some quality chances and some real good looks. The score might look different. So that's the biggest challenge. And it's the D that have to get them the puck and exit the zone very efficiently.
Zubie, we got something?
Well, just quickly if we get to cut noodles loose here, and I'm springing this on you, but Michael Dahl wants to know who you got winning. Have you made a prediction already on Overdrive? Do you have to save it for? If you have to save it, that's fine. But if you got something to lay on us, the people want to know.
I don't want to be lazy in my in my analysis here. I've said all along, I think it's a game, like we're talking game 7 coin flip, because I could easily make a case for the Edmonton Oilers to win. And a lot of it comes to, well, you know what, 97 is just not going to be denied. And you look at the hockey gods, what they learned last year, all of that type of stuff. And it's easily, you can make a case. But then I go, you can't sleep on this Florida team, because Brad Marchand has breathed life into the group. Seth Jones is a new face that is hungry. Aaron Ekblad missed 20 games, so he's refreshed. Matthew Tkachuk has gotten stronger throughout the playoffs. I don't think he's been as impactful as we've seen him before. So I could easily make a case for the Florida Panthers. I believe it's a coin flip. I am leaning Edmonton a little bit more just based on home ice, because I don't think this is going to be a 3-0 lead for either team to start off with. I feel like this series is going to go the distance, but I am leaning Edmonton, but it's literally 52-48. It's not a decisive win, because I could see, and I know Edmonton fans wouldn't want to hear this, but I could see overtime in game 7. Like, that's how closely these teams might be matched. And the coaches are fantastic too. But this might just be, 97's year where he says, not on my watch. We're not going through this. So who knows? But that's kind of what my head has been thinking. I don't know if that's a lazy answer. I am leaning Edmonton, but it's not by much.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I can't wait for it to start tonight. We'll see. I think this could be a longer one for sure. Noodles, thank you. Enjoy the tournament, and we'll talk to you again soon.
I'll be out there soon. Tight budget right now to bring TSN out, so we're looking at later in the series.
Okay, buddy. We'll see you there. See you
Chat
then.
soon.
There he is, the great Noodles. What a guy. What a guy. Okay, Zoops, let's take a quick pause here. We're going to come back. We're going to play the field. A really cool story that I like, or I should say one of us likes, but one of us doesn't. Old Ebenezer Scrooge. We'll tell you who that is next.
The Hot Honey McCrispy is so back at McDonald's. With juicy 100% Canadian raised seasoned chicken, shredded lettuce, crispy jalapenos, and that completely craveable hot honey sauce, it's a sweet heat repeat you don't want to miss. Get your Hot Honey McCrispy today. Available for a limited time only at McDonald's.
Dennis here from Weiss Johnson. Are you looking to get into the trades or have a kid graduating high school wondering what to do? Weiss Johnson is looking for career-minded people to work for us. Opportunities truly are endless. Become a service technician, gas fitter, refrigeration technician, install residential or commercial heating and plumbing systems, fireplace installations or service, duct cleaning. We are the company where you can learn all aspects of the trade and pick which career path to take. We have an awesome benefits package and offer school reimbursement too. Visit wjcareers.com today.
Specializing in heavy-duty commercial truck powertrain repair, performance, tuning, and part sales, Adrenaline Diesel's professional team is ready to assist you with all of your needs, from the simplest oil changes to engine conversions, overhauls, and engine modifications. Featuring an all-new online parts store and machine shop to manufacture, replicate, or repair parts, visit adrenalinediesel.ca.
It's now time to play the field, brought to you by Play Alberta, the online gambling site that wants to put you in a scoring position with a nifty with a $50 free bet. Bet on all your favorite Alberta sports teams or whatever team you love. Then hit the slots and play for a big jackpot or stack your chips at the live dealer tables. To earn this month's $50 free bet, use code GYB06 at playalberta.ca. Okay, Zoobs, I love this one. The Oilers decided they'd have some ice shavings sent from various rinks around Canada where some of their players played. So, for instance, I think it was Newmarket where Connor McDavid played, Hamilton, and these were they played their minor hockey, right? Darnell Nurse out there in Hamilton, a couple from Vancouver, a couple rinks there where both who is it? The Nuge and Kane played at, and then of course somewhere was it Hamilton or I lost here, but Calvin Pickard out in Ontario as well.
Hamilton, I believe. Yes,
Hamilton. My bad. So they grabbed these shavings and they're throwing them on the ice. Now you remember for the Salt Lake City, they did that. They put a loony at center ice, and Kevin always loves telling this story and how they won with that gold medal in that. So I love it. I love the emotional attachment it is of kind of tying the players' youth and the way they played where they were younger, and then bring the ice in, and there's kind of a feel there. I think it just kind of fills you with that good feeling story. Does it make a difference? I don't know, but you know what? It can't hurt, Zubie.
No, you're right. It can't hurt. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm growing old and cynical. I don't have a problem with this. I just, to me, I don't know. I'm a bit grinchy on it. I just think that's something nice, I guess, to tell your kids. I don't know. It doesn't really do anything for me. Did they also get a jock strap from each player that they wore in Adam? Have those shipped in to have them in the locker room somewhere? Like, I don't know. It's a nice little story. It's a nice headline. I'll defer to you for the player. Does it matter? Do you think it matters as a good feeling for those players? Because if it does, then yeah, I'm all for it.
I think it just brings your home closer to your rink, right? And I think that's important. I think at times when you're an NHL player, I always feel like you're playing for another city, and you're happy to play for your city, whether it's Edmonton or Winnipeg or Columbus. You want to represent that city, but it is a nice feeling to have some of your home come into that rink and feel like you're skating on rink you skated for, many years. I mean, you think about all the time you spent on the ice as even an amateur or an adult. It's so much fun. So I like the emotional attachment it brings, and anything that can bring any kind of emotional attachment to the rink, I think it's well worth it. So yes, I like it. I'm into it.
Okay. If I was playing, they'd have to send my dad out to Onaway there and scrape some of that ice out there, or Legal or Calahoo, one of the home rinks I played at in minor hockey. No, it's a nice little story. It's a nice little story. I'm just being difficult.
And for those of you from Edmonton who skated in Edmonton, Confed Arena, where Stuart Skinner played his, I believe, Bantam and midget hockey, they scraped some ice too. So that didn't have to go too far, and dropped it on the ice at Rogers. So I like it. I like the emotional attachment. I'm very emotional about this, about these things when you get to the final and how to get people tied in. Next point,
Stu's ice might have still been ice when it got there. The other ones would have all melted for sure, but Stu's might have still been ice. Holy cow.
Where are you taking us next, Zoop?
Oh, we're going to talk about this stat we talked about. This is not my stat. The Zubie Matrix, as I call it, was my stat. And by the way, the Zubie Matrix won again this year because the only two teams to play 7 games in the first round were Winnipeg, Dallas. They ended up playing each other. Winnipeg out, Dallas knocked out by Edmonton. So again, for the 32nd year in a row, a team playing a 7-game first round series will not win the Stanley Cup unless they played a team that also went 7. This is another stat that's been floating around here about teams who lose. And I don't know who said this first, so my apologies if somebody's watching who should get credit for this stat. But this is really interesting. The Oilers are the 8th team in league history to lose their first 2 games of the playoffs and still make the finals. The other teams are 7-0 in the final, have won the Stanley Cup. The 7 other teams who have done it lost their first 2 games of the playoffs and still made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. And this, to me, doesn't feel like an anomaly. It feels like there's something to this because the Oilers' record since losing those first 2 games is 12-2, right? Well, that's if you look at it that way, it almost has to be. You have to, if you lose the first 2 games and still make it to the final, you just have to be on a really good run. So I think there's something to this. I think this is not just that those teams are 7-0, but the big picture of it, I think is really could be a factor, could legitimately be a factor here in this final.
Oilers fans are going to be telling this to their friends all day, right? Like they're going to be telling, like, we got this. We lost the first 2 games, we've got a roll, and all the other teams have won it. I think that it's, could it be that it kind of ups your urgency? Because now you're down and you have to find your game, in game 3, or you are probably going to be out. So it makes you a little more, just ups your urgency because you just have to chase. You're chasing a series to start with. So I like it. I think it makes more sense, and Oilers fans will love the fact that every team has won. I think that's their takeaway, Zoobs, for sure.
Yeah.
Then we'll move on to the NBA. And you and I have been watching the NBA pretty closely. Obviously, it's going to be great to watch OKC versus the Pacers. Most people, or I think everyone, has OKC winning this thing and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander walking away with the MVP of the playoffs and the title. But the New York Knicks, who had a great run, made it to the conference finals, lost to the Indiana Pacers, did something that I feel is very Knick-like.
Yes. Yeah, they fired their head coach, Tom Thibodeau, after getting them to a conference final for the first time in, I believe, 30 years? And back-to-back 50-win seasons for the first time since 1995. So that was 30 years. I think it was since 2000 or something. And that's a long, struggling team. You know, a team, obviously, when the teams in the big markets struggle year after year and say, and when there's all the super teams being built all around them and they were never able to put one together, that's a big market team with a big name, a big brand, and they haven't been in the mix at all. And then finally they're in the mix, and then they fire this head coach. And the day, the day or 2 days after, not like I was saying there might be some similarities kind of to Pete DeBoer here. There's some news trickling out about maybe some players not being kind of happy with the way things ended there and some of his media availability. And maybe that's going to simmer and fester and they'll find a time if that's going to happen, but not the day after. I mean, this is crazy, Struddy.
The one thing I was thinking about is because I watched some of those series, maybe his reluctance to play a deep lineup led to this, because he really played 5 or 6 players. He didn't often stretch very deep unless they're in foul trouble. You see other teams go, 7, 8, sometimes 9 deep. It felt like unless there's foul trouble to Jalen Brunson, which there was a lot, they wouldn't do it. So, or he wouldn't go deeper in his lineup. So that may be one thing. It's a philosophical difference with the management that you need to play more players to keep them fresh. And he was reluctant to do that. So thank you very much. You got us this far. We're going to go in a different direction. But after the stats you mentioned about the wins and getting that deep, it feels like a Nick thing to do.
And the quote, or, I'm paraphrasing, but basically like, we're about winning and we didn't do that. We're about winning a championship and we didn't do that. It's just like, obvious, like you said, obviously this is a rift. This comes from somewhere where, when there's a team that there's a coach, somebody wants to get rid of them and they're just waiting to find the moment, and they were successful enough they couldn't do it throughout the year, and then to just say, well, we didn't win a championship, so we got to move on. I don't know, it seems like obviously a strange spot in the process, but just like you said, Struddy, I totally agree. It's got to be a philosophical difference with somebody above him.
It's crazy. So we'll see what happens there, and we'll follow that because they got to get a new coach as well. Okay, that was Play the Field. Now it's time to get off the fence. I've been waiting on this one. I've been sitting on this one for a few rounds, Zubie. So let's get to it. Brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products, Alberta's leading supplier of vinyl products. DLR offers premium materials for fences and decks designed to stand the test of time, no rotting, fading, or deteriorating. Whether you're looking for a professional contractor or planning to tackle the project yourself, they have the resource and expertise to help. Canadian owned and operated with locations in Calgary and Edmonton. Check them out online at dlrvinylproducts.ca. Superstitions are something that exist in all sports. If I do this all the time, or if I think this way or whatever, it'll help me win the game. If I wear this jersey or if I sit in this couch, it'll make a difference. Oilers fans, I'm here to tell you to embrace it. There are those that think it doesn't matter. We don't care what they think. We care what we think. And the idea that you can have an impact by wearing a jersey or sit in a seat or have the same meal or watch the game with the same people, same friends, and it'll help them win. It does sound a little crazy, but I don't care. That's how we attach to our teams. That's how we fall in love and stay in love with our team. I know I'm a New York Giants fan. I tell people all the time, when they were making their runs, I wore the same jersey, sat in the same areas. At that time, my wife, if she left the room and the Giants scored, she wasn't allowed back in the room. We had to win. Eli Manning needed my help in the room while I was sitting there cheering. Do not walk back in when good things are happening. So I believe that superstitions are a part of it, and we love it. Now, I'm not talking about routines. I'm not going to talk about when you put your pad on left first, then the right, or way you walk to the rink or anything like that. I'm talking, Zubie, pure superstitions where if the Oilers score when you're not watching, you can't watch again until the end of the period. Those are the types of things. That's what fans do. That's what we are. And that's what makes it so great to cheer for your team, especially when they're fighting for a championship.
Yeah, I do love it. And people on the stream right now, we got a good stream going. If you have your superstition, what you've been doing during this Oilers playoff run that you believe has been helping the team, let us know. We'll get to a few of them on the air. But yeah, I totally agree, Struds. It's fun, and it's something I've kind of been telling my kids about, that of course they don't know. Well, we watched they won a game. We've been playing La Bamba in the house after they win and dancing around with the kids. And so I've kind of taught them about that. And then it's like, well, I'll say, well, I'm going to watch the game up here tonight, upstairs in our living room instead of the theater room. Is like, well, why are you watching it up here, Dad? Well, they won last game and this is where I was sitting. So that's where we're going to sit again. Or I also don't, I have a jersey and a hat and a hoodie and some other stuff I have around, and I'll sometimes put it on to start the game, but I'll do like momentum changes. If, okay, they're losing, I'm switching the jersey, I'll switch to the hoodie. Or if I'm not wearing something, if I start out the game not wearing any gear and they're winning, it's like, I'm not putting it on now. Well, I'll put it on if we need to rally. But other than that, no, it's if it's going good, I'm staying even keel.
It's so great. So my daughter, for the last game, my daughter was here. Oh, my daughter, my kids, my wife was all here. My parents came over, and my sister came. Her son and daughter didn't come. Right? They went and watched it somewhere else.
Right.
Well, we all decided that night that they can't come to the next time we all get together, and we love them. My niece and nephew are amazing, but they're not welcome because the Oilers won when they were here. This is family. These are my niece and nephew. I love these two kids, but unfortunately, sorry guys, you weren't there for the win, so you can come back when they lose when we're all together. So I know it's crazy, but I don't care. But that's what sports is. We all cheer for people wearing, tight jerseys and tight socks, running around the ice or skating around trying to score with a little black puck. But that's what makes it so awesome. And that's why sports are that. We know it's unreasonable, but it still doesn't matter, Zubie. So if you've got one that you do at home or with your family, your friends, or going to the bar with your buddies or whatever it is, you got to have a shot every time the Oilers score. Fire it into the stream and we'll get into it with you right now, actually.
Yeah, we got some good ones here. Brownie Oilers saying, I live in South Dakota, USA. Huge Oilers fan. My Hyman jersey rests over the back of my sofa. JP Hip for Life says he wears his Ben Stelter bracelet upside down. Jay Anon says, I have a lucky coin I only hold when the Oilers have possession. That's he's picking it up, putting it down the whole time.
I love it.
Just Steve's on the stream says, last playoffs, my son stood up during a PK and got scored on, and I yelled, we don't stand up during PKs. We talked about this. Low parenting moment, he adds. Nick Biscupick says, I wear the same old ass orange shirt and sit in the same spot on the couch. Dallas Scarlett says, my fiance must not sit beside me on the couch. Every time she does, we either get scored on or lose the game. So yeah, lots of fun stuff in here. Everybody's got a story along these lines, and it's totally, that's what a big part of what makes it fun for fans. Of course, you believe that what you're doing helps the team, knowing, not thinking about that there's literally hundreds of thousands or even millions of people elsewhere doing or not doing their little thing. It's fun to feel like you're a part of it in some way.
I love it. And I know it's unreasonable. I know that Eli Manning doesn't know what I'm doing in my living room when he's playing or when he was playing, but I think it matters. So it does matter. So let it go.
It does, yeah.
Let it go. Enjoy it. Don't let anyone ruin it by saying, oh, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. They probably also don't believe in dinosaurs, so it's fine. Okay, let's get to now. Time for Ask Struds, brought to you by our good buddies at McDonald's. Loading up on it for tonight for dinner. McDonald's is letting you have it all with their new nacho chicken poutine. It's got seasoned chicken, nacho cheese sauce, tortilla strips, cheese curds, and savory gravy, all on their world-famous fries, which are unbelievable. We all love them. The nacho chicken poutine is available at McDonald's in Western Canada for a limited time. So have it all before it's all gone. This sounds like a good pregame meal for tonight, Zubie.
Yes,
what
definitely.
do the people want to know?
Let's get to lots of talk about Tony Klein says, can Kane take Tkachuk out of the series like he did when Tkachuk was in Calgary? And is this Tkachuk? there's not much talk. Of course, we're in Oiler land. We're talking about Oiler injuries, but the Cats, they're healthy, with who they're putting on the ice, but we're not so sure that every guy that's going out there is healthy. Tkachuk is a guy who had a pretty serious injury coming out of the Four Nations face-off. Is that Kane on Tkachuk matchup a key matchup in this series?
Lots to unpack there. Yes, I believe it is. I think that he needs to go there and get in his head and start chirping him, getting it going. That's when Kane's at his best. When he's emotionally connected to the game, Kane's at his best. Is there a chance he's going to take a bad penalty? There's not a chance. He will take a bad penalty. But over the haul of the entire series, it will be worth it with the outcome. I don't think Tkachuk's skating very well. Those that say he's not a good skater, I would challenge you a little bit. He's not the best skater on the planet, but he gets around pretty well. But he does. I think he's still limited by, I think it was a groin he had, so he's not playing super well. So you got to get on physical and make it hard for him as well. Make that series really hard on him so he can't get himself into it as well. And then, they do have some. Reinhart missed some time. Listerainen left game 5 for Florida against the Canes. Finish checks on these guys. You're not asking these guys to come to your wedding. And if you are, it doesn't matter till after the series is over. You are playing them hard and you're trying to win the series. Doesn't mean you have to be dirty, but finish checks, make it heavy, make it hard for them.
Their Statue Boss production says Skinner was good last year and it wasn't good enough. They need to get to Bobrovsky starting tonight. There's been, the talk is Bennett, Marchand, Reinhart, those guys getting in Stu's grill. Bobrovsky is very composed. Is there any reason to believe that might go the other way, that it would be a key focus for the Oilers to be getting in Bobrovsky's grill?
Oh, they're going to get to the blue paint. You've got to make him uncomfortable. And what, as a goaltender, and Zubie, I don't want to step over top of you here, but when they're square, when they're set, they see pucks, they don't feel uncomfortable. I think that they're able to make, a lot of saves, especially someone at the level that Bobrovsky has been for good chunks of his career. So you want to get to that blue paint and make him look for pucks, make him look through, make him look around you. Pucks are falling all over the place. You're slamming pucks around. Yeah, maybe you absolutely accidentally slash his hand, like all those types of things, just so he doesn't feel 100% comfortable in his crease.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, they talk about a quarterback having that clock when they take a snap for a passing play, the clock in the back of their head of like 1,002. When you're playing goal and you're searching for a puck, you have a clock going in your head that if I can't find it, this is going to be bad. So traffic is huge. Having guys, having you being unable to set your feet, it's a big deal for sure. It doesn't necessarily break your composure, but it's just flat out harder to stop the puck. Balding Barber says Florida is basically running only 3 forward lines. That's another area the Oilers can wear them down because over the course of the series, because all 4 Oilers forward lines are rolling. I double checked the ice time on this. Florida fourth liners are playing about 7 to 8 minutes and Oilers fourth liners playing 10, 11. So it's not a massive discrepancy, but over the course of the series, do you think that's a big deal, Struddy?
I do think over the course of the series. Now, keep in mind, I think both teams are relatively fresh, right? I think they're relatively fresh. I think the Oilers are way more emotionally fresh than they were last year. Florida was in the same boat last year because they'd been through this before. I think that the Oilers are at their best when they're rolling 4 lines. I really do. Everyone's involved in that. And when everyone's playing well, you're able to play 4 lines. When the game's going your way, you play 4 lines. And we've seen a lot of the nights where the minutes are pretty tight. Everyone's over 10 minutes. And I think that's huge. But there are going to be nights where you're going to play the hell out of Connor and Leon as well. I mean, that's just going to happen, people. Buckle up. There'll be some nights, I bet you, they're at 25 minutes. It doesn't matter. This is a 7-game series, and you're going to give everything you can to get this done. I do like the Oilers' 4th line more than I like the Panthers' 4th line. And, they have that fighter on that 4th line. No one should fight that guy. No one should get engaged with him. Do not let him get a toehold on this series. You skate away from him every opportunity you have.
Yeah, and Dallas Scarlett pointing out over those numbers that I gave, over 7 games, it's almost an entire period of hockey. So it does matter, that amount of ice time. Okay, a couple of kind of random thoughts and what ifs. Ben Dofer says, this is a kind of from the fantasy hockey world. He says, Of the players the Oilers lost, Holloway, Broberg, McLeod, Fogle, if you had the option to add one of them back into tonight's lineup, would you? And which one and who would you take out?
Oh boy. Okay, so let's pretend that played the way they did last year. That those 4 guys played the way they did last year.
Sure.
Well, especially with Hyman out, I'm probably looking at Fogle or McLeod. I think the Oilers' D is sound, it's steady. Holloway, he was good last year, but if it was this year's Holloway, I'm probably going this year's Holloway over all of them. But the way they played last year, I would bring in probably Fogle, the big man. Use his speed, get his physicality going, get to the net, all those types of things. So I would go with Fogle. What about you, Zubes?
My mind jumps to Holloway because of the physical, and Fogle would be physical in spurts. Sometimes you'd see it. Sometimes we wished he was hitting more. So I don't know. In my mind, I'd go to Dylan Holloway. But yeah, I might be thinking about this season more than last playoff. But I would. Fogle has speed, obviously, too. So I'd think speed, energy, physicality. I think my first choice would be Holloway. But that might be, like you said, tainted by thinking about this season. Here's another kind of random, but I think interesting question from Obelisk21. He says, should teams who get Vezina quality goaltending have their coach, he says not considered, but considered or not considered as coach of the year? There's no position in hockey that the head coach has less to do with than goaltending. So the point is that should that affect a coach? If a coach who's going to be nominated for the Jack Adams has unreal otherworldly goaltending, should that affect their being nominated for that trophy?
Well, there's a saying, what is it? Something like, show me a coach of the year and I'll show you a coach with great goaltending, and I do get that, but I think that's a bit unfair because the coach also has to coach up the players. Honestly, maybe at some level, the coach is responsible for picking the goalie coach that helps the goalie, become the level he does. So I understand the thought, but I would disagree with it because that's unfair. Look at New Jersey, the way that they played, it really helped Marty Brodeur become the goalie that he was and for so many years. Not to discredit his contribution to it, but I think the coach is also responsible in part for what happens with the team's success.
Noel Rinsky says, this team won 11 games without their best D-man, arguably. They will be able to pick up the slack for Zach. Do you think that's a reasonable comparison? I do. I feel like they're going to miss him. They know what he brings to the team and kind of what they need to deliver to offset that. But do you have confidence they can play without Zach as well as they played without Ekholm?
I always think that a D-man is more valuable than a forward, especially a top pairing defenseman. And now that discredits what Zach brings to the team. I feel sick for him that he's not going to be able to compete with his buddies and he's out like he is. So this isn't a slight at Zach Hyman, but that's just how I feel. I think that Ekholm was one of the guys they could ill afford to lose. They'll have a group of players and going to try to fill that hole that Zach Hyman leaves. But so the thought that I'd rather have my one or two D-men back rather than one of my top 5 forwards. Yes, 100%.
Okay.
But they will miss him.
Oh,
yeah.
Last one here, and then I'll have one comment to wrap it up. JP says, talking about going back to that clip about from the coach about whether it matters if it's the Panthers, he was talking about the Eagles behind the scenes, and they're like, we're better than the Chiefs, recalled them wearing the 0 sack shirt. So the Eagles, of course, it was a Super Bowl in between, but the Eagles rematching the Chiefs, it mattered to them that it was the Chiefs they got to play again in the Super Bowl. There's something to that, right, Struddy?
Yeah, it's motivation. You always, I remember I played for a team that traded me or didn't sign me. Guys would be like, these guys didn't want you tonight. And they were saying that to motivate you, right? Yeah. So again, I'm not saying Knoblock's lying or anything, but at some point, someone in that room will pull that card, maybe at the beginning of the series, maybe halfway through, and they'll say, we want these guys to suffer. I truly believe that.
Okay, a couple of comments just to wrap it up here. Todd Gack, our friend, I believe that's Dutch, says a Dutch name. I need this cup like I need air. Well, keep breathing. keep breathing, Todd. We hope it's, we're all hopeful it's going to happen. Game 1 kicking off tonight, and a good suggestion by Obelisk21 saying Evander Kane will shock everyone for Game 1 and get off the LRT at Rogers for the game. What a sight that would be. They'd have to make sure they have the camera there for the slow motion walkout from the LRT to the Rogers.
Zubie, he is an entertainer. He's an absolute beautiful, and they're going to need him. And I think last thought here before we go, a healthy Evander Kane is going to have an impact in this series. I truly feel that. And I'll also say at some point, Jeff Skinner will have a moment in this series. And everything he did or didn't do over the regular season will be we'll forget about it. We'll remember this moment he has. Trust me, he has that ability, Zubes.
I feel like Evander Kane on his front, I feel like we kind of know the type of guy he is, the type of personality is. I could see him wanting to show that it's different this year because he's there. You know, I can see him wanting to make that statement on the ice.
I love it. Well, we'll find out. I wonder who they start. Do they start his line? You know, let's see. We'll find out. We're not too far, 5-6 hours away from the start of it. Listen, everybody, enjoy this. It's going to be so much fun. Have your superstitions.
Yes.
Enjoy it all. Listen, thank you to everyone who joined us. Tell a friend. We love that you are all joining us and we can share our thoughts and ideas with you. Thanks to all of our sponsors for making this possible. Zubie, any final thoughts? And thank you, Zubie, for being a part of it.
Oh, my pleasure. Super fun to be here. We got Kayla checking in from Dallas here. She says playing with a chip on their shoulder makes for a good Cinderella story. The Oilers finally favored in a series, though. Now, who knows? Who knows all of this business? But I do think they still feel like they're underdogs. Playing with that chip on their shoulder is cool. And we also hit our subscription goal. So we got to talk about if you're wearing the rack tonight. Are you wearing the rack tonight, or do we need to... or is there more prep that needs to go into it than that?
I need neck strength is the prep I need. So we'll talk to the big boss man, see what he says. But thank you, everyone, for getting those subscribers. And again, if you haven't yet, take a second, subscribe to the pod so you know when we're up. So on behalf of Zubie, myself, and all of our sponsors, thank you very much for being a part of our show today. Tell a friend. Go Oilers, go. I can't wait to see this game 1, how it looks like. And we'll break it down again tonight. Got your back post-game with Zubie, Brownie, myself, and of course, Ryan Rashak. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks again.
See you tonight, everybody.